everyone, welcome back. It's podcast number 10 for the Dani Dot following crowd. I am your host. I am currently in Cromwell where my computer is saying it's 4 degrees and cloudy. I absolutely believe it. It is freezing. Oh my gosh. Where has the last 10 days gone? I just want to say first and foremost that the team at Buzzsprout, who are the dashboard for my podcasts, they were the ones that gave me the heads up that I needed to sort of somewhat slow down how consistent I was passing out episodes because their analytics weren't catching up with me. And they emailed me just to sort of say, we're not getting a good reading on how many listeners you're having or how many downloads because you're sending them out so fast, people aren't catching up. And I was like, how do they know that? But yeah, I took it in my stride and I just decided that I was going to take a little bit of a 10-day break, especially to let people catch up, ask questions, do all those kinds of things, but also get myself in order for the fabulous podcast number 10, which I feel should only be about my number one thing, and that is travel. I feel like everyone has a story when it comes to travel, and how much of an experience is it just, booking flights right through to returning home and unpacking a suitcase. We are here today to discuss it all, and I can give my valid input, and that's all it is just casual Dani Dot advice from all my experiences as to what I would deem is the best kind of travel. And I'm not a seasonal traveler. I definitely have got a fair few trips under my belt and some really crazy tips and tricks and everything else like that. So I thought I'd spend this time sharing something that I'm super passionate about. And a little side note, I'll actually let you guys in on a secret. Fucking hate flying. Oh my gosh. I am the biggest fan of airplanes. I have almost got this weird, awkward obsession where I will, if I get wind that someone's going on a flight or something, I will track that plane like I am that friend. But when it comes to actually me physically being on a plane, I get sick, I start crying, I think I'm going to die. There has been a few past experiences that have contributed to my fear of flying, but I think it's just one of those things where the bigger the plane, the less you feel turbulence-wise. And unfortunately, when we do only have such a short space of a runway here at Queenstown Airport, we only get certain size planes coming in and out. So there's only sort of one way in or out, and that's on those tiny A320s that, I mean, an A320 type plane is still bigger than some of these little ATR propeller planes, but sometimes I think, what's worse? Sometimes I'm just like, I prefer driving to Christchurch as opposed to flying. But especially those trips that I do to Australia where I think, oh my gosh, if this plane goes down and it's in between destinations, like I'm not going to be very happy. So I do have a massive love of aviation and everything else like that. And Mum was only saying a couple of weeks ago that stems from being a young girl, and my grandpa used to take me to the back end of Christchurch Airport where you used to be able to park your vehicle and watch planes coming and going. And so I think from a very young age, I always had a fascination with like, how does an aeroplane get up into the sky and how are these massive contraptions staying airborne? And then, I did do a stint working at the airport, and honestly, I didn't learn anything about planes then, but as I've sort of, gone through the motions of different aircrafts and, getting an understanding of things and having a best mate who is essentially a pilot, he explains things to me more, and I don't know. It's one of those things where it starts at the airport. If you're stressed at the airport, you'll be stressed on a flight, If you have a smooth arrival and, departure out to wherever you're going, it's not going to, wind you up so much that if there is turbulence, then you're not going to be all, why is this happening? Answer me some questions, pilot. And what's with the pilots that always speak super muffled over the microphones and tell you what's up? Like, are we not that far advanced in the whole microphone side of things where we should be able to understand what a pilot's saying? I mean, more often than not, they speak so fast and they only tell you the weather, and there's so many things that just stress me out. I'm one of those people that I definitely will tell you I need to have control. And I'll come to a story coming up about just how much control I didn't have on a certain flight to Auckland recently. But anyway, I have a couple of like tips and tricks when it comes to different airports and whatnot with lounges. I think the best, most decompressed, comfortable flight is always one that starts with a drink at the airport where you've checked in, you've gone through security, everything's all like, you've got time to relax and just sort of absorb where you're going. It all starts with having a great holiday when you start, getting in the mood for travel. So one of my most favorite lounges, I've done a few, but there is one that sort of ticks a box for me, and that's the $35 Bali International Airport Lounge, where it's essentially that. $35, all you can drink, all you can eat, massages, showers, like for $35, and you don't have to have like any sort of loyalty program or anything. It is exactly just like Koru Lounge for Air New Zealand or Qantas Lounge, but for $35. And the thing is with Bali, it's like super hot there, so there's nothing better than like going through this really heated experience getting through departures in Denpasar Airport, to then end up in this beautiful $35 lounge where you can have unlimited beers. And I'm not even going to lie, one time I actually boarded a flight out of there and I filled a handbag full of donuts and I had a shower at the airport, and I just was like this goddess getting on this Jetstar, otherwise known as Shitstar, which I've been to Bali that many times that I will say my favourite airline to travel to Bali is the Jetstar Dreamliner. For space reasons, and there's these weird things about the Jetstar flight that I just love, and one of them is the fact that you can change the colour of your window. The actual pane of glass tints in different colours, and I just think that's the funniest thing. It doesn't look like that from the outside though, because I have gone down the terminal tunnel thing and looked back and been like, I left my plane on a pink light and I can't see it's pink from the outside, so it's not some rainbow aircraft landing in Denpasar or whatever, but that is like my favourite flight, is especially the Jetstar to Denpasar. But more so than not, my first trip ever was in 1999. We flew Christchurch to Gold Coast for my uncle's wedding in April, and there's already some stories that will come out of me from this one. And the fact that it was my first flight, I didn't really understand what was going on. I think I was like, I don't even know how old I was. My brother must have been 9, so I must have been like 10 or 11. And they were handing out those little Baby Bell cheeses. I know you know where I'm going with this, eh? So we're in the plane, we're traveling, everything's going well. And they hand out these little cheeses that are wrapped in that shitty red wax stuff. And so I started biting into this wax, and I didn't understand the whole idea that you're supposed to peel that shit back. I turned to Mum and I was like, there's something wrong with the cheese. And I had a mouthful of red wax, and I just sat there thinking, oh my God, what have I done? That's not even where it gets worse. Mum pulls out her calculator and she's doing up like the holiday budget. Just, as you do, you've got 3 hours to kill. What else do you do? And Tom starts freaking out that her calculator is going to start interfering with the plane's electronics and going to plummet us all to the ground. So Tom's sitting there, having a bit of a hissy fit that Mum's solar power calculator is going to interfere. Lo and behold, we're coming into land in Gold Coast. We don't know how this whole thing, works with the whole landing thing. Tom yells out, the plane's wing's broken. From then onwards, I'm telling you now, being an 11-year-old person, like, I honestly probably should never fly. Like, there's too much going on. And especially when half the plane, like, lunges to one side and thinks, oh, my God, the wing's broken, because my brother doesn't understand how they expand the wings and get everyone organised for landing. So the first flight was a drama in itself, and I don't know how Mum, Sue, got to do that so well, but and then as we sort of got older, I don't really think I did too many trips from 12 to maybe 2006, 6 maybe, like, yeah, 6 or 7 years after that. I don't recall that many flights after that. So fast forward to like 2006, I think that's where it starts to ramp up a little bit. Getting on with age and everything else. And my friends are getting older. We've just done, 2000 to 2004 at Brisbane High School for myself, and we've come back to New Zealand, and I've left all my friends in beautiful Australia, and I've decided, I'm going to get a job, but I'm going to fly to and from Brisbane and Queenstown. And, before I know it, I've got multiple trips under my belt. We've been flying all the airlines, living it up, having the best, travel stories. And then I broke my wrist in probably 2008. A girl in a bar in Christchurch pushed me off this table at a foam party, and I broke my wrist. And it was like so shit. Mum lived in Queenstown, I lived in Christchurch, and so obviously we had to go, to and from those destinations. So I was doing a bit of flying then. I actually rang the bank in 2009, and I said to them, I need to stop some automatic payments. I'm on ACC, which is a accident prevention helper type company that, for those that aren't in New Zealand, help us get back on our feet when we've had an accident. And the lady at the bank says to me, "Oh, what are you not coping with?" And I said, "Oh, I'm on ACC for a broken wrist, and I think I'm going to be off work for about a year because I was a barista. I was working in a coffee shop, Gloria Jeans in Litchfield Street in Christchurch." And she said to me, "Oh, but you've got some credit cards with us." And I thought, "Oh, yeah, of course I do. I've got a shitload of debt and I've got no way to pay it." And she says, "But part of having a credit card with us, you've actually taken out total temporary disability insurance, which enables you to have a lump sum of $2,500 a month for your injury if you're off work." Wow. It was March. It was freaking March by the time I asked for this. The accident happened in October. So I got back paid till October. It was just this massive lump sum. I marched my way down to Flight Centre in Remarkables Park in Queenstown, and I was like, I've just come into some money and I want to get on the old travel itch and actually go over to Europe. And before that, she says, "Whoa, settle down. You've never travelled like solo before, Have you thought about this?" And I said, "Oh, I don't think about things. I just do it." So she sends me for 10 nights to Samoa, and I went Queenstown, Auckland, Apia in Samoa, and I went and sat in a fale, a little tent thing. Oh my God, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, why did I do this? I went and sat in a fale on the beach for 10 days, and the funniest thing is that when we landed in Samoa, they blessed the plane while we were still on the plane. These people came on and gave it the plane the blessing and blessed everyone that they were all going to have this fabulous holiday and everything else. And then I get to this boat and I travel to this other island, and I'm, setting up camp, and this woman comes over who's like part of this hotel thing that I'm staying in their tent. And she sees that I open my suitcase and I've got a packet of Tim Tams. Well, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I was going to be eating. So I packed a packet of Tim Tams. And she says to me, "If you give me this packet of Tim Tams, I'll look after you for your whole trip." Wow. I didn't know my left from my right. So I was like, just take the Tim Tams, love. I don't need them. Well, I never saw that chick again. What a have. I lost my chocolate bickies, and I didn't get any extra help while I was in Samoa. But I think 10 days in a fale in the middle of nowhere where there's just ocean all around you really clears the mind. And Mum said that, if I don't hear the waves or the tide or anything, I need to grab my suitcase and run to the highest point, because essentially that's going to be like a tsunami and it's the receding of the water. So I was like, oh my gosh, I don't need the stress. Even getting a postcard from Samoa to Mum took 6 months. But the thing is that the postcard went back on the same plane that I landed on, because I was at the airport writing the postcard, waiting for my transport to the island. So I don't know what's going on in Samoa land, but absolutely stunning destination. I absolutely just couldn't speak any more highly of that place. It's one of those things where it's extremely off the grid. The bus stops have free bananas. at the place that I was staying, they had an honesty box for the freezer. So you just like put, money in this little dish and take all the ice cream. And I was over there with duty free as I am. And, I was drinking Appleton Estate rum on the beach with mixers that was probably just Soda Stream mixer. It wasn't even real soda, and living my best life for 10 days. And then I came back and I went back to Flight Centre and I said, yeah, you know what? I actually really do want to go to Europe. I need to, get up to the Northern Hemisphere and see the world. I've just, really enjoyed my independence going over to Samoa. Let's go up to London. And I do have some family ties up there, so we'll get that out of the way and I'll see a bit of the Northern Hemisphere. Well, we did that and it rolled around and Queenstown to Auckland, Auckland to Los Angeles to Heathrow, London. Mum got the shits with me and she decided she wanted to see me off. So she came from Queenstown to Auckland and said goodbye to me at Auckland International Airport. And then she just came back. She just came back to Queenstown. She's like that. And I couldn't comprehend 12 hours in a plane. I actually burst into tears when that plane was taking off to Los Angeles. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I just don't have the mental capacity to be on a plane for 12 hours. This isn't right. And this guy next to me was an older guy. And he was like, do you like red wine? And I said, yeah. But I was only young. I was barely like 18, 19. That's not really young. That was it. I says, yeah. And he says, don't worry. You're sitting next to me. We'll just get drunk. And I'm like, this dude is like literally 65 years old. I'm going to get drunk on the way to LA with some rando. So we get up in the sky and I'm on one of those Air New Zealand Dreamliners and it went so fast. Like, I just think if you have any type of fear of, long distance and being in a tube I wasn't prepared for being in the tube for 12 hours. I'm not going to lie. I left my undies in Los Angeles airport because I was like, got to change me undies. But on the next step from LA to Heathrow, it was sort of one of those experiences where I was like, I am meeting a friend at the airport. I have no idea what jet lag is. I don't know what that is at this stage. So we land in London and he takes me out for a big night on the terps, the alcohol. And I'm sitting at this bar and I'm asleep. My head is on the bar. Jet lag had hit me and I was like, stuff this travel thing. It's ruined me. I was asleep when he was awake. I was awake when he was asleep. Oh my God, it was awful. And then it was really crazy being in the Northern Hemisphere because being so close to London and Heathrow Airport, there was just continual streams of aircrafts going over where he lived and I was just absolutely in my element. It's something that I'm so passionate about, so just shut me up about it when you can. But yeah, I loved it. I love being in and amongst all the crazy hustle and bustle of London, but we followed the All Blacks. We went to Cardiff and a couple of us Kiwis all caught up and we got absolutely sloshed watching Wales versus New Zealand. I wasn't really like following the All Blacks as much as I probably should have back then. So that was one of those experiences where I was like, woo, Prince William's like right in front of me at the rugby and I just didn't even comprehend what was going on. I actually found 20 pounds on the ground. And I went and brought everyone a beer and I was like just the happiest because I didn't know like how to work the currency. I was just, I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, so when coming back from that, I hoarded so much rubbish. It's ridiculous. I went over there with 22 kilos in a Kathmandu backpack, came back with 3 suitcases and lots of gifts for Mum and Tom, as usual. But actually, I was standing in the line at Heathrow to depart, and I don't know why this is going to keep coming up, but it will. I went to get my passport out of my bag, and my dirty underwear fell out in front of Isaac Ross, the All Black. And I just remember him looking up in the air, and he's like, I didn't see that. And I was like, I didn't see that. I just stuffed it back in a pocket. Because, when you travel, you just have no idea where things are in your luggage. I was trying my best, guys, but I'd never travelled like that before. And at Heathrow, just a little heads up, when you check in and you have to go through security and everything else, way back then in 2008, I don't know if it's still the same, don't quote me, but when you go through all that type of admin type stuff and you actually have to walk to your gate, sometimes it's like 2 or 3 kilometers and you have to like run. So when I went through customs and did all that, I actually stopped at the main food court. It wasn't a food court, it was this beautiful restaurant where I did this jug of margarita and nachos. I am who I am, okay? So and I just thought, oh, it's just going to be like Christchurch Airport where you just dawdle over there and that's your gate. Well, no, I had to run and they still yelled out for me and I was like, oh my gosh. And then on that flight home, I had to sit in between 2 big burly men and I was watching Marley and Me, the movie, on the tarmac, and we stayed on the tarmac that long that I finished the movie and bawled my eyes out. I'm pretty sure the dude to the right was watching it as well because he was having a right blub. But then we all got separated because we were quite scrunched up, a 6'3" female and 2 bigger guys just, taking over the tray tables. So yeah, I think I was actually lying across the 3 seats myself, and we were coming over the Cook Islands back from Los Angeles to Auckland on our way back from Heathrow, and we hit such massive turbulence. My bourbon and Coke threw itself in the air and came down all over me, and the dude that was like the air hostess saw it and he came up and he says, holy moly, don't worry, I'll get you another one and some napkins. And I was like, ow, I'm wet. So not only did I turn up in Auckland absolutely saturated in bourbon and Coke, stunk of alcohol. When do I not? It was just one of those places where I think he just would have seen that happen multiple times. But that, I think, I would honestly say, triggered me into hating turbulence. It was just not a nice experience. And yeah, he did say that it happens quite often over the Cook Islands, but when you're that high up and you're by yourself and, the plane drops and you're asleep, like I think I just need therapy for it. So after I did that, I tried to get back into work and everything else, and I actually decided with a good friend of mine from high school, let's do a trip to the United States and go Queenstown, Auckland, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, San Francisco. And oh my gosh, if you've ever traveled to the States and you had to do one of those ESTA arrival passes, I got to the airport and my passport, I won't give it away, but it does say there's a letter O for octopus in my passport number. In the actual ESTA application, I put it as 0. So I'm standing at the check-in and the lady says to me, oh, you can't fly today because your ESTA's not in order. And I burst into tears and I was like, what do you mean? I'm ready to go now, and she says to me, oh, go over to the New Zealand assistance counter and they'll help you out and you can reapply. But if they don't approve it in the next, 2 or 3 hours before you're supposed to fly. And this, my friends, is why you need to be early at an airport, because that was trauma in itself. I paid Air New Zealand $150 to reapply for me with my correct passport number, and it was approved in 3 minutes. But imagine if it wasn't. I mean, America's on a different time than us anyway, so who knows who was approving it. But that was what went through my head was, who's awake? Who would be approving ESTA applications at this hour? So we boarded for Los Angeles, and that was just like super exciting. I mean, I've only been to Los Angeles airport on the way to Heathrow, so that doesn't count. But when you actually get to America and they're walking around the airport with these massive machine guns and you're just like, holy moly, you're not in Kansas now, Toto. So me and my friend went to, we actually flew into San Francisco because when we landed and we had to take this horrible minibus thing down to our accommodation, which probably took an hour and a half from San Francisco airport to downtown San Fran, I was just like at wit's end, like just park this stupid thing somewhere and I'll just go in that hotel and just stay there, But we get to our hotel and the elevator shaft's broken, and I'm like, I'm not having this because obviously like the bellboys work off tips. So he was trying to lug all our luggage up these 7 flights of stairs, and I just thought, oh my God, give him $20 and tell him to go away. So we go downstairs to the Burger King or Hungry Jack's, whatever you want to call that bloody establishment. And they have a security guard on the door. And I was just standing there like, what's ever happened at a Burger King that they need security? But turns out it was like all the homeless people that was flogging all the tomato sauce and the ketchup and the mustard and everything else. They like live off sugar packets and stuff. It was really crazy. It was like a bit of an eye-opener. And then we rode in a tram and we did all the things, and I was like lapping up. In America, between San Francisco, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles, all three destinations have a hop-on, hop-off tour. So all we did was pay like, I don't even remember, was it like $20, $30? And you have like 12 hours of unlimited travel. You just hop on the bus at different like attractions and hop back off again. Like, oh my God, it's just such a lifesaver when you have no idea where you're going in another country and you don't want to look up those stupid Lonely Planet books, because things change, like things evolve. You know, what we used to think is really cool to see as an attraction might not be as cool anymore as like the Lonely Planet guide. So it's 100% better to go with like what the locals would do. And you know, if someone's driving a hop on, hop off tour, they're going to tell you what's up and what's the best things to see and not waste your time. But when we were doing all those, I saw so much between those three destinations. It wasn't till we were in Las Vegas and we stayed at the Stratosphere Hotel at one end of the strip. There's actually a bus there called the Deuce, Deauce. And I think it's like $4 a day for unlimited travel up and down the strip, because Las Vegas is in a desert. So it's super hot. But it was good staying at one end of the strip and just walking the strip every day and taking the Juice bus back to the hotel when you're drunk off bloody retail therapy and all the free drinks in the hotels. I mean, I've always said it. If you're going to go to the States, go to Vegas. And people will say 7 days is too much. I've been there for 10 and I would still stay on for 20. It is like next level, one of my favorite places in the world. And hand on heart, I've been there 3 times now. It's my happy place, I think. There's something so loose about it. You can get up to any kind of mischief and it's not frowned upon. There's like, you know, hotels that just go on and on and on and on and on, and gambling, and you only have to look like you're putting money into a what do you call those things? A gambling machine, like a pokey game or something. And the people come around with drinks on the trays and they just say, "Would you like a beverage?" And you just say, "Yeah." And then you take the money out and you didn't even play the game. So yeah, it wasn't until I went with my friend from Brisbane, we actually took our tax return to Vegas and played our tax return in the old roulette. You know, a couple of $100 on black. She actually won on the last day. And it was crazy. She was only buying a drink from Starbucks in the hotel that we were staying in. And she put, I think, at $40 and she pulled out $900. And she didn't really even comprehend what was even going on because she doesn't play pokies. So just goes to show there's a lot of magic in those weird machines. They lure you in and then you do win, and it's fabulous. But yeah, between San Francisco, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles, and I've done that 3 times. I've taken 3 different sets of people to do that exact thing, even down to landing the plane and going to the same restaurant as soon as I've landed in Vegas. You know, that's the type of, what do you call that? It's like, it's just routine. But when you fly into Vegas, some flights do this, some flights don't. I've been on, I think it's American Airlines, they don't, but different, I think Southwest Airlines or something strange. They make you put your window shutter thing down when you fly over Area 51, which is where the aliens are, or the American government's looking after the aliens. All you can see in the distance as you're coming up to it is these massive reflective domes, and it's super scary. Like, oh my gosh, it never gets old, you know. But yeah, that's one of my like little tidbits, is that if you want to see Area 51, fly over it with American Airlines because they'll let you have your window up. Other airlines make you put it down, which is super sus. And I have driven a Mustang from Vegas to Los Angeles. That was like one of the best things. And the person that I've traveled with, actually, she really didn't want to try driving on American roads because your steering wheel's on the other side of the car, and you're driving on the other side of the road. For some strange reason, it came naturally for me, and I just thrived. I just did it, It was so exciting. Whereas she did it once and she was like, nah, never again. So we actually extended our rental car from 3 days to 7 because I was like, we're keeping this car. It wasn't until we got into Los Angeles and 8 lanes of traffic merged into one that I was like, I don't want to keep this car. But I didn't crash. I did really well. And I love my time in the States, and it's just such a cool place to go if you really have got time on your hands and a couple of $1,000 to just go over there and get amongst it. It's so much fun. And I have been to Hawaii with a friend of mine who she invited me to go on a cruise. There's a story behind it, but I won't bore you with that. But yeah, Hawaii is much the same, but not. Alcohol's super cheap. Love Honolulu. Love everything about Hawaii. This is probably why I love Jason Momoa, to be honest. But I always say America, including Hawaii, because I have been there and I can talk about it. Some of the most amazing experiences I've done is I have this real fascination now, and it actually is triggered from the cruise. When we were going around Hawaii, there was just literally so many opportunities to get underwater and snorkel. And once while I was, getting over that fear of what was under the water, it just sort of like thrilled me. And I now I think I find holiday destinations with somewhere I can snorkel just that much more exciting. It's just my sort of place. And that leads me on to Bali. And I've been 6 times. When you live in Brisbane and it's like Jetstar return for free sales and you just have to get on that plane to go up to Bali. But one of my most exciting opportunities was going an hour and a half from, I can't even remind myself like where it was. It was somewhere like, half an hour north of Kuta Beach. You get on a fast boat and it's about an hour and you go over to Gili Island, Gili. Some of the best snorkeling of my life happened up there, where they actually have boats that have like a line of rope between them, and you follow the line of rope, and the turtles know that that's what, you do. So they follow you. And there's something so majestic about sea turtles. My gosh. I think I was a sea turtle in my past life. But that was like magic. Unfortunately, I got terribly sick and I don't really remember too much because I was on some pretty awesome medication. Gili was not inhabitable. Is that how you say it? Maybe. They had a natural disaster with an earthquake and a tsunami, and I don't think they've actually bounced back from it, but it's not very sanitary. We didn't know this at the time. And one night I was editing snorkeling videos of me and the sea turtles, and I was just sort of like chilling in my bed, nothing's wrong, went to go have a shower, touched the shower handle, came back to bed, opened a bag of chips. So sick. It was so bad I had to take some really disgusting tablets and hope that my trip back to Kuta was not going to be compromised because I was just that unwell. And because I knew that the toilet back on land was a long drop. And I had such the doctor didn't even know what I had, but it was just like bacteria poisoning from the unsanitary conditions at the hotel because things just hadn't been cleaned. So, yeah, there's that. But Gili Island is different now, and I think the more you spend on hotels, the more, well-maintained things are going to be. we just made the decision to book probably not the best hotel. And now I look back at it, I'm like, oh, why do we do that? But these are the types of memories and experiences. But I did really put my health in a compromising position staying there. But yeah, another part of the experience side of things is also meeting people. And I have so many really great experiences with meeting people. This one guy in Vegas, he was such a big personality with his beautiful nature. And in America, they tend to serve you wearing their name tag with where they are from. It's like whether or not it's the state they're from, the country. They're really like open about where someone's from. And I don't even know who I could even say he reminded me of, but he had this massive boisterous personality. And he just said to me, and I don't know why he said it, what's your favorite ingredient? And I just looked at him and I was like, oh my God, he's a bartender that's like this. I love it. I think I said mango. And he lined up 3 cocktails that were mango based and he just put them in front of me. He was like, do you want like a toasty or anything? And I was like, yeah, I want a toasty. So anyway, he didn't charge us for the drinks. He charged us for the toasty. We tipped him, I think, between me and my friend that was traveling, $50 because we were there for like 3 hours. And I still to this day think about him because he was fun. And I just think, well, you know, I do sort of get these people in my life that I just think, why are you just, you know, like that with me? Am I such an open book that you would just think I like to be throwing cocktails? I don't know, but wow, what a cool thing. And yeah, there's many a people I have come across, like in England. I hopped off the train between Manchester and London to go to a vending machine to get snacks for the train ride, and the train doors closed with my luggage inside. And someone signaled to the train driver, she's locked out, she's locked out. I actually could have really had a situation on my hands there. But that person jumped in the carriage with me and sat with me, and they were just talking to me about their experiences with London and everything else. And they were from Ireland, I think it was. And that was like a life-changing moment. It was like sliding doors, literally. You know, life could have been without my suitcase in an absolute strife, or someone could have helped me, which they did. And I got to meet someone and yarn all the way down to London from Manchester. So when you travel, it's so important to be open-minded, whether it's someone that's sitting with you on your flight, someone that helps you along the way that might give advice or recommendations. You don't have to go through and do what they tell you is good to do, but be really open to the opportunities that may arise when you travel. It's so exciting to just, you know, when you come back to your hotel at the end of the day and you think, oh my gosh, I had planned today out in my head completely different. But no, and that's why I honestly just want to sort of touch on this really quickly, is that even when it comes to checking in, if you are someone traveling by yourself, sometimes, you know, air staff, they can make notes on your boarding pass, or they can put notes in the system, you know, 14D or whatever's traveling by herself. Or they can give you upgrades. And I definitely recommend, from a professional stance, if you dress like you are quite smart looking, they will bump you up to business. I mean, how many times have I been in business class for absolutely no reason, is only that I'm traveling by myself, or I've been super friendly to the people that are checking me in. It's not weird. Like, I'm not hiding that I have a lighter in my bag or anything. It's just, have you had a good day? Is there many people on the flight? I always sort of got an upgrade to emergency aisle on Jetstar because I'm super tall, and I just sometimes say, hey, listen, is there any opportunities? I completely forgot to book, because at the end of the day, they don't know when you last flew with them. Like, maybe they do, I don't know. But I always got emergency aisle down to Queenstown, or, you know, vice versa back to Australia. But air staff, they're like your best friend. And when I had my blood clot and I burst into tears at Brisbane Airport because I was like, I have to fly back to Queenstown. I haven't flown, and, you know, since this diagnosis, I was crying my eyes out. not only did they put me up the front of the plane, she gave me hot towels and a bottle of water and just said to me to signal to her if I felt really uneasy and she'd help me through it. And that was a lifesaver. Like, all you need to do is let people know of your situation, because at the end of the day, if you're just getting on a plane like everyone else, it's kind of like cattle, you're just being herded onto a tube. But if you're that person that someone remembers from check-in that was like, she was funny, or that person's scared, it's so different. It changes your whole trip. And I really recommend that, if you've got the confidence, who cares if you don't? Are you going to see them again? I don't know. But no, that was probably like where I wanted to go with that. I'm just sort of thinking, what else am I talk about? I actually know more about the world than I do my backyard. And that's not even like a small statement. I truly... I don't know much about the North Island compared to the world. I don't have any inkling to go back to the Northern Hemisphere. I actually have a really, really great friend who wants to go traveling next year around Europe and do a couple of festivals and everything else like that. And I said to her, Dal, you go do it. I'll meet you in Bali. Because for me, 12 hours on a plane with my bad leg, it's not really a fear as much as it is mind over matter, but I don't want to be someone that puts I don't want to panic. I don't want to panic over a 12-hour flight because my leg's inflamed or whatever because of being in a tube for 12 hours. I'd rather safely get to somewhere that I know, whether it's Hawaii or Bali. That's probably like my limits, and I don't even mind because, quite frankly, I've got my experiences and I don't need to go back. I didn't really find too much of my trip to like London that exciting. I've got half brothers up there that can come down to see me whenever they want. But yeah, when it comes to me getting back out there and flying, I actually have said to Mum multiple times this year, I'm not doing it unless someone comes with me because I'm scared. But no, I plan to win lotto, and then if I could travel first class in an Emirates A380 over to Brisbane or then to Dubai, I'm one of those people that I love space. And to me, flying cramped up in an uncomfortable position with a gummy leg, no. So I'd rather have money and actually do it properly and enjoy myself on a big plane, like my beauty, the King of the Skies, A380 Emirates, then absolutely. But for now, this is where I'm at. And I've definitely got a lot of really good experiences and memories that I can hang on to. And that's all that I need. So what's coming up for me? I've got my birthday this weekend. Yes, it's finally here. I have not thought too much about it, to be quite honest, just because it's one of those things. In my mind, I love throwing parties. And I sort of was like, I don't want to do this. Not so much because of my friend group or, who I wanted to invite or whatever. It was more what brings me joy. And I think what I'm actually doing this weekend, having a masquerade. What am I doing? Mardi Gras. I always call it masquerade. A Mardi Gras or a carnival celebration, like a New Orleans Mardi Gras, with lots of beads and colours and stuff like that. Then that sort of brings me joy with some friends, because that's all you really need in life. And with everything that I've sort of touched on in the last sort of 6 months, I don't need it to be extravagant, and that's fine, because I'm getting to that age where it's like, it's either here nor there, and when you sort of stop and think about who means the most to you, I actually could literally just enjoy myself with 4 friends. But in my mind, I don't want to let an opportunity pass to have a function. That's my biggest problem, is because I just love seeing, people get together and celebrate and everything else. And it's literally it's snowed last weekend. So it's cold. I can't fake tan. I'm just putting in any effort when it gets to this time of the middle half of the year when it gets cold. It goes out the window. So I've got the beautiful wine club tomorrow with my stellar a couple of friends that love to do the Town and Country Club Wine Club. But they better up the ante when it comes to the quality of wine, because the last two or three, I've sat there and I'm like, what are we drinking? Thursday, my absolutely stunning friend, who I just cannot even, has privately messaged me and said, hey, we are going to go sit front row in recliners and watch Jason Momoa for his Fast and the Furious movie. On the Thursday, like, I died. I just was like, are you freaking kidding me? This chick is amazing. And so on the Friday is my actual birthday, and that's the one that Mum actually hauled my ass out of the house for. And she says, listen, you don't leave the house on a Friday. I'm such a homebody. I love just having a glass of wine, watching TV, eating something delicious. She's like, no, we're getting out there. We are going to the Five Stags, and you're going to have a birthday drink and you're going to bloody well enjoy it. So I reached out to my friends at the Five Stags and I just sort of gave them a heads up, and they've offered me this really great space and said, yeah, nah, for you, we'll do this for you. So I actually haven't really told that many people about that. So if you're hearing this and you want to pop down, it's just after work drink at the Five Stags. I will maybe send out some heads up tomorrow when this podcast goes live, because I hate when my friends hear about stuff not from me. It's not nice. And then on Saturday, I have a function at my house. So I need to spend the day putting up decorations, which is literally my favourite part. I'm like the Monica Geller of friends. Like, it has to be perfect. I've got streamers, I've got beads, I've got face masks, like the sticky crown ones, the ones that go on your face, the really cool bejeweled ones. And I just want to put up shitloads of balloons and get them all like fed and watered with my delicious punch that always has 6 million ingredients but puts you on your ass. A couple of people were like, oh, fuck, here we go. Which leads me to discussing the fact that for the past 13 days, I pulled a sobriety card and decided I was going to, after my friend got assaulted at the pub, I was going to sort of turn a corner with just, how uncool that was, and how people at the pub where it happened weren't supporting him and helping his situation. So I put my foot down. I went on strike. I said, nah, this is bollocks. If this happened to anyone, I'm sure people would be acting differently, but, maybe it's because it's a guy. I don't know. I feel like he's not being helped here. So I have been off sugar, off carbohydrates, and off alcohol for 13 days. I made it to Saturday. The Saturday just gone. I went to rugby, and I didn't drink during the rugby game, so I'm a good girl. And then a couple of my nearest and dearest, the two favourites who have partners that play in the footy, they sort of shook me a little bit and said, Dani, it's not a bad thing if you have a drink. It's not anything. You're a beautiful, wonderful person, and it's not going to hinder any sort of progress you've made with your health and wellness journey. But if you want to have a drink, we support you, we love you, and if you start getting a bit rowdy because you haven't drunk anything in 2 weeks, then we'll tell you. Oh my God, I love these two. I absolutely am just, they're such special people in my life. So I toddled up to the bar and I got a ginger beer, one of those crimson ginger beers, and I thought, oh, here we go. After the first can, I sat on that can. That sounds bad. I drank that can for ages. I didn't drink it that fast. Things got louder. My face got hot. I was thinking, oh, it's happened. So, yeah. And then my mum and my neighbour, who's just absolutely hysterical, she's such a fun person, they turned up for bingo, and bingo was just such a shit show. Oh, my God. I mean, I think in my mind, I am one of those nanas that now understands how it gets played from a nana's perspective and how, like, nanas fight over different things. Well, if you get, like, 20 people in a room that are, like, boozed up bloody rugby players and there's, like, a bottle of Jameson whiskey as a prize, things are going to go wonky. And sure enough, when they were calling out the numbers, they repeated the numbers 7 times. There was like number 33 that came up 7 times. I was like, stop yelling the same number. It wasn't until like the second card that they actually got it under control, and I was sitting there thinking, oh my gosh. My friend actually won a prize, which is awesome. And then, when I went to drop a friend off home, I came back and the contest had basically ended. But not only had it ended, they doubled up and they did this double up fire round, and he won both prizes. He didn't deserve to win, But then again, I didn't pay for my card, so I don't know what was worse. So I took my mum up to the Five Stags, and by that stage, she was like, when you don't normally drink and then you keep going. I took her home and I was like, oh, it's all good. I'll drop you off home, Mum. And then I ran up the street to my neighbour's house and we sang karaoke so loud that her husband came home and he marched us back down to the pub and he told us to get out of the house. I think maybe you could hear us from outside. I don't know. But so the sobriety ended on the Saturday, but I actually felt really shit on the Sunday, and I told Mum, I says, this isn't worth it. This is my focus for what I was going to do on the Sunday just completely went out the window. And it was funny because my brother turned up for Mother's Day and I went down to the supermarket and I just got like junk food. I have no regrets, but the one thing that was on my mind for some strange reason was saveloys and tomato sauce, like, those weird little red sausages that you boil in hot water and then you put tomato sauce on. I don't know if you're like me and that's what you sort of crave, but we did that and then I just felt like an idiot. I was like, oh my God, it's 2 weeks of like being so straight-laced, just gone down the shitter. I mean, I just felt really unhinged. But I got back on the horse yesterday and we went over to Queenstown. We did some things and I was at the gym earlier in the morning and no one was there, so I don't know if it's winter and people stay inside, but in winter I seem to thrive and I was just super excited to go and get my workouts and everything in. But yeah, that's what we've been doing for the past, 2 weeks of me not doing a podcast, trying to be healthy and happy. I ruined it by going to the rugby. Well, it was my own doing, but my girlfriends are just so supportive and I have a rubber arm, I think. It's fine. So no regrets. That's what we did. And but if anyone has anything they want to sort of give me a heads up on, I've actually heard from Spotify. Spotify wants you to know that there is actually a question box when you click on a podcast. You can ask the creator questions. I can actually submit polls, but I don't want to do that. And I've also been approached by Buzzsprout, who have got 3 sponsorship options. I laughed. I was like, that's lovely, Buzzsprout, but I'm not going to talk about HelloFresh in my podcast and make people buy boxes of food because that's not what this podcast is about. It's not for making money or any sort of gains. It's just simply something for me to have as a hobby, and it's going really well. It clicked over 10,000 downloads last Monday or Tuesday, which just was so super special because essentially I haven't done any work. I've got my brand new phone going, so I don't even know how this is going to sound. And I have new software to upload my podcast into to see what happens. But just a heads up, I don't talk very fast. There's actually a button to speed it up so that you guys don't actually end up sitting on listening to me for like, minutes on end. I actually press that magic mastering button so it all gets, they trim it, so they take away this pauses. I don't pause that much, but I feel like sometimes a friend actually, he reached out and he says, man, you talk fast. I says, no, I just don't want you to be sitting there wasting time listening to my podcast when I could speed it up for you, so I do. But yeah, if you do know me in person, I'm quite a slow chatter sometimes, unless I'm excited about planes, which is why we're here. So I'll wrap this up now, guys. This is podcast number 10 from Dani Dot's perspective on travel. I hope you have taken away some sort of advice. It is exactly that. And there has been so many gaps in the years since I have been around the world and everything else, but I feel like it's all sort of valid, and I hope that if anyone is about to spend some time and get out there and go travel, that you have just so much time. And remember, from my perspective, Open your eyes, open your hearts, be ready for opportunities and embrace everything. Talk to the airline staff before you even step foot on the plane. Tell them all about your trip. Where are you going? They'll probably love it. And if they don't, who cares? I remember on a Virgin flight, I was upgraded once, and the air hostess took a photo with me, like a selfie, and then he put it on the Virgin Australia website. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But anyway, until the next podcast, we'll talk about, I don't even know. I've actually had a few people, a few professional people have heard this podcast and want to sit down and have a chat. And I need to get that in order. I feel like everything's going really fast this year. Like we're already almost at the middle of, we're at the middle of May. But yeah, like this year is flying, and all of a sudden I need to get my ducks in a row as to having more guests on my podcast, because it's easy enough for me just to talk to you guys, but to actually get some questions together and ask some professionals and get some real, like, you know, substance from people. And even maybe in the next half of the year, we should do some video recordings and upload that. But hey, look, world's my oyster. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving hearing from you guys. I'm loving doing this podcast. That's all the support I need. If anyone needs anything, as always, open book. Come let me know. Dani Dot on Instagram or Dani Wilson on Facebook. Yes, I have a multitude of friend requests in there right now, and I don't regret putting that out there, but sometimes I'm like, do I know this person? Have the best week and the best weekend. You know where I am and everything that I'm up to. So yeah, I'll talk about it next week. Love yous. Bye.